Hey, how's it going? So I was playing around with Blender, playing around with my Web 3D stuff, and noticed some stuff that I didn't quite understand as I dug in. The React 3 fiber community was nice and explained to me what this was that I was seeing, and it relates to vertex colors or Vertex Paint. So in Blender, we don't use it that much. I first ran across it when people were using it for materials, and I developed an add-on called Crayon. Don't worry, I'm not just trying to sell you crayon. I want to show you how to use this technique to do various things without ever having to do UVs. Check this out. I've got this model here. It's some vertex colors, right? So this thing's all one object. This doesn't have materials on it yet or anything. The reason that this is extra colors or looks like it's extra geometry is because I grabbed an SVG and I did a knife cut of that SVG through that surface so that I could color its different shapes within it and get that effect. I don't think this looks great yet, but did you know you could take an object like this, color its vertices, and then without having any UVs, you can use those vertex paints to tint the color of your object. So this is all one steel texture. It doesn't have any UVs. It's just mapped to it as an object. We could probably change the scale. The scale is probably a little too large. But you can see how we've got that logo in the wall as a like a decal. I've got these darkened areas, got these tinted blue areas, and it's like it's anodized steel with some colors. And I thought it was a pretty cool effect. What's interesting here also, that all of this stuff will export to Web 3D if you're following me for that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool because if I were to want to do this and add anything, like I'm going to go in here, I'm going to just change some panels to have a yellow tint to them. We'll see if it shows up. All right. And you can see that gold, now they have this gold tint to them. If I were to do that, if I wanted this to show up without this technique in Web 3D stuff, then I would have to bake all of this as one big texture. Or I'd have to assign different materials to different geometry, and then they would get loaded in separately. It's kind of a mess. I wouldn't have to bake any of this as it is today, because by default, the Three.js stuff will take the vertex colors and multiply it by the base color in order to show it just like this. So actually, Blender does not do this normally. Oh, I kind of like that gold color. Blender does not do this normally, but based on a helpful description I got on how it works, I just quickly added it in. I grabbed the color attribute. There's two different nodes that'll give you this, but I grabbed this one for it, the color attribute. This is what I name my color layer, crayon. And then I just said color multiply for whatever was coming in for the color, and then you routed it through this multiply and connected to the base color. And that's all I needed in order to have this effect, where I can have like this material that acts as the overall material but adds these different tints and tones to it. Now the one limitation I did notice is that if you have a really dark material, it's not going to really show up, because this is only going to like darken or add tint to your material. So I can't get it to be lighter than what's showing up. You know, as long as you understand that limitation, you try not to use it for things it's not going to be working for, then I don't think it's a big deal. If you are interested in Crayon, which allows you to pick these faces and quickly set colors, then I will have that link in the description. I've had this thing going for a couple years now. I keep adding to it as people have different ideas. It makes doing stuff like this easy. I think people use it for other applications as well. I really like this. I think this has some cool potential to allow you to do some quick adding of color to a material without having to do a bunch of UVs, you know, per individual faces. Or you notice I didn't go in and assign different materials for different faces either. Pretty cool. Here's an example of something I pulled in from one of those big asset packs on ArtStation. If I don't have the vertex color showing, you can see there's nothing there. If I go to the material, same thing. It's just one big flat material, and there's really nothing to it. It's going to kind of hide any details in there. But let's say you want to bring out some of those details. You can do that with some color in the with Vertex Painting. All we got to do is go in, select a face or a number of faces. We can choose a color and apply it. You can also do this through here. You've got it's in Vertex Paint mode, and you can mess with doing vertex painting. When we export that to a GLB, it's going to export all these colors along with it, but they're not in the material. These are just going to get added when we do the conversion and show it in a web page. Let's do that real quick. Got my application here, which, man, this is making it so much easier to test out things because I just come in here quickly, do some basic stuff, and can test out whatever I need to. So I'm just going to pick the file I've exported, hit OK, and it creates everything needed in order to tie out all the pages together and allows you to quickly view it. So we'll go to there, and you can see we've got now this panel that's got it's got all the textures and even the normals, the base color, but it's also adding the vertex colors from the faces. I see this as a really good option for being able to mess with different objects and modify their look just by changing their colors in the Vertex Paint mode in Blender. I didn't have to mess with any materials, didn't have to change the UVs. All we have to do is start editing the Vertex Paint, and you can see what impact it has. Happy to bring you some new stuff that I figured out, and maybe it makes a difference for your workflow in Blender or workflow for things that you bring to the web. But either way, I do see potential for an add-on to be developed here that make it a little easier to do this specifically for web deployment, or to take SVGs and stamp them into a surface without having to go through the knife project process and automatically color them based on the color of the SVG path or shape. And if that sounds interesting to you, then please interact with this video. I'm going to start using videos like this demonstrating techniques to gauge interest for the next things I develop, whether it's an add-on or a web project or whatever. So help me out. Help me figure out what's worth doing like that, and I appreciate it, and I'll try to get that out to everybody. Thanks.